again, right? It's hard to believe it's upon us, but summer's over, football's began. And I guess the biggest issue, guys, are the depth charts have been released. I don't really understand what's all this big deal about depth chart. Else Mox had it, and all you guys have had the paper for the last 3 weeks. So I guess it's official. Cato will be our starting quarterback Sunday, and looking forward to an exciting game. Just take any questions you have.
Talking to Cato, he said he felt like one of his worst practices was that first one when it was closed to the public because he didn't have someone to feed off of. You get the sense that he's almost kind of got that gamer mentality when he needs a crowd, an energy to feed off. It might be good to go into the Mountain Field for his first start.
Well, I think number one, he's a young guy that's just out of high school. He's probably not old enough to really care what's going on out there in the stadium. But he's a guy that grew up in a tough area, grew up tough. He's been through a lot of adversity in life, and I think that'll carry over to him as far as the season goes. But he's a mentally tough kid, and I think he'll handle it well.
Does that kind of speak, though, rough life, the one place that he enjoyed being at, being in front of the crowd, was the football field?
Yeah, that's probably an escape for him, and he's always been very successful on that field. And I'm not concerned about Cato playing because I think he'll be fine over there.
Talk a little about the matchup of two of the better defensive ends in the country. You got Manny on your side, and you got Bruce Irvin on the other.
Yeah, Bruce Irvin, Julian Miller also. I mean, he may be the best player, one of the best players in the league. You look at West Virginia's personnel. A year ago they had the best talent in the Big East Conference. The coaches and media picked them to win the Big East Conference. Again, they got the best talent again this year. They got probably the two best defensive players in the league, and Irvin and Miller. He's a guy you have to know where he is because he'll create issues for you as far as the passing game is concerned. And you look over on offense. They've probably got the two best players on offense in the league with Gino and Taylor and Austin, who's an exciting player.
How helpful is it to kind of simulate Irvin and Miller when you have your offensive line is going against a guy like Vinny?
Well, it helps because you have to. We try to go as good on good as much as we possibly can. Of course, in pass rush situations, it's always good on good, but we'll go good on good again. Tuesday's work day for us, and our offensive linemen get to go against Vinny and some other kids we have there at the defensive front. So it helps, there's no question. The more good on good you can go, the better you'll be.
West Virginia didn't change much defensively from last year, but obviously the offense has changed greatly. How'd you guys go about preparing?
Well, you got to go back to what he's done in the past. I mean, Oklahoma State, Houston. I mean, one thing I think Coach Holgers has done a great job of is he's adapted to personnel wherever he's been to his offense. He hadn't tried to put square pegs in round holes. He's taken the personnel that was given to him. He's done a good job of molding that into his offensive scheme. So I'm sure he'll do a great job of that at West Virginia too.
You got to face WVU here last year. What are your thoughts about going back to Morgantown now?
It's just this is a different team. We got a lot of young kids. A lot of them never been to Morgantown, so we'll do a great job this week of preparation and talking about the job at hand. And us going up there, we're not looking forward to it. The kids are looking forward to it, and it should be an exciting game.
What about you personally?
Our job is to do the best we can to prepare to win the football game. Other than that,
Tyler was talking about speaking real highly of you, how you kind of handled that miss last year. You kind of put your arm around him right after that game and said, "Hey, we're going to need you down the road." Can you take us back to that moment? How you kind of treated him and told him that it's going to be okay?
I'd rather not take you back to that moment. Kids. That's there's nobody wanting to make that kick more than Tyler wanted to. At that point in the game or any time with a kid like that, the best thing to do is let him up a little bit because at some point when the kid came out against who was it, Memphis or somebody or Tulane, I guess it was, stuck a little 44-yarder right there at the end of the half to help us go win that football game. So he's a much improved player, and if we get in that situation again, he'll make that kick next time.
You're gonna have a little different perspective on how here it feels this time, right? Visiting locker room, visiting sideline.
I've never been to that business locker room. It'll be. You know what though? A locker room's a locker room, and it'll be different. Until the ball's kicked off, and at that point, it's all about finding a way to win the game. But I don't worry about that. I can't control them. I'm not worry about it. We're just going to do everything we can possibly do to prepare and make sure we get the most prepared, most best team we want to make sure it's not that's my concern.
Coach, will it be tough for you to interactions and people go up and say, hey, how are you gonna kind of handle the familiarity going back?
I'm not sure how many of them you're saying hey to, to be honest, but, I have a lot of friends there, I do, and, when you spend that, the length of time I spent up there, I mean, I've got a lot of really good friends that are still there, still working in that department, and, I've got great respect for them and great respect for that university, but, for that 3-hour period on Sunday, it's all about doing whatever we can do to win that football game. That's the only thing that concerns me, it's the only thing that's on my mind right now, that's the only thing that'll be on my mind for the next however many hours it is after the game, up to it, but it's the ball 3:30.
You probably spend more time there than anybody, though. How do you simulate that game atmosphere for your players and let them know exactly how it's going to be?
Well, you constantly talk to the kids about, when you go into a situation like that, you gotta have great leadership, you gotta be mentally tough as a football team. And, you don't simulate it, during practice, we'll have crowd boys, we'll have all that for all week, so our quarterbacks and, our players can focus and concentrate, but you don't actually simulate it until you walk into that arena, and the kids have to be able to handle it. We got some older kids that play and play in tough arenas, so I have confidence our kids are going to play hard and play well.
So you got Bruin here at right guard, talk a little about him and what he means to that line if he can stay healthy.
Well, I think, I'm just happy that Bruin was able to get through the camp, and, he's a great kid. You guys, John Bruin's all about doing good things in college football, and he brings some leadership, and he brings toughness, and just having him in that huddle means a lot to, us as a staff and also our football team. So I'm glad he's back, and this will be the first time he's played in a while, so I'm sure he'll be excited.
On those same lines, able to move CJ out to tackle.
That helps. The important thing is we get our best 5 guys, on the field. And, some other guys are going to have to go in there and play. Levels going to have to play, and School's going to have to play, and some of those other young guys are going to have to come along and spell those guys a little bit. But it's nice to be able to look out there and see that, the first 5 guys we have out there right now for a pretty good job.
Doc, you might have mentioned this, but with the fact that Cato seemed to handle everything pretty well, obviously went into your decision making, but he seems to have a cool about him maybe that some freshmen don't have. Is that part of what your thought process was?
Yeah, he does, and you know what? I've got guys on the offensive staff and of course defensive staff that have coached a long time. Tony Peterson's coached a lot of really good quarterbacks, and Billy Legs have been involved with some really good offenses, really good quarterbacks over the years that he's coached. And, the one thing that we felt going into this camp is we were going to go in with an open mind, but we were going to start the guy who gives us the best chance to win at the end of the day. And when it's all said and done, and you put all that body of work that Cato put into camp in 2 days and the last couple of weeks together, he gave us the best chance to go in that football game, and we made that decision to go with him, and I think he'll be fine. Now, I think as coaches, we got to be smart with what we do, and we got a group of tailbacks and a group of receivers, that offensive line's solid a year ago. Take some pressure off of him by some of those other guys need to step up and make some plays. So we'll do a good job, and Billy and Tony will do a good job of managing Cato when he does.
When was that decision made, and when did you inform Rakeem and AJ?
I informed Cato today, this morning, at meetings. That decision's been made for a couple of days.
What are your, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I talked to Cato, and he said, and we think up here it's unusual for a high school quarterback. He's seen the 3-3-5 down in South Florida. Of course, you probably played a 6-man front in Hurricane High many years ago, but
Couldn't do it back then. Honey James was asking me about reads, and I said, hell, buddy, you ran to 80 times every game. You didn't worry about getting quarterbacks making any reads. But, he's beyond his years. But you know what? So is Gino. Gino was the same way coming out of high school. They came from similar backgrounds and similar areas, and Gino came in and played well as a freshman, and we expect Cato to do the same thing.
how many schools down there play a 3-3-5?
I don't know exactly. I mean, they get a few. Cato's he's beyond his years as far as football sense is concerned.
What are your thoughts about Eric starting at tight end after his recruiting process?
He's starting tight end because he's the best tight end right now. He's the one that's made plays in practice, and guys that do it out there on that field during practice are the ones who do it in the game. And those other guys, Gator Hoskins and C.J. Crawford both play, but Eric has been the most consistent throughout camp in 2 days. And I'm just glad he's with us. I'm glad I'm not playing against him. I'm glad he's with us.
How much difference is feeling this time now as opposed to your first game last year?
Oh, I don't, I mean, I think after going through a year, you've been through it one time, and you're more comfortable with what you're doing, but, I think the excitement of that first game, and, getting out there and seeing your team, there comes a time after 2 days of camp and all the preparation that you need to go play. We're at that point, we're tired of practicing, we need to tee it up and go play. Sunday coming up with 6 or 7 days or 5 days, whatever it is, I'm anxious for it to be here.
How will you handle that extra day?
We'll have 2 Thursdays instead of 1. 2 Thursday practices instead of 1 Thursday practice.
Coach Holbert is going through this Sunday. Can you explain what that first game is like as a head coach and adjustments and things that you have to go through?
Yeah, you never know until you go through it. I mean, you think you've got it all figured out, and you do dry runs and do all that. But there's always something comes up in that game you're not quite prepared for, and you just, I'm sure he'll be fine. I mean, he's coached a long time, and I'm sure he'll be fine. But there always will be something at some point that come up in the game you haven't thought about or haven't prepared for, and he's got to make that adjustment and go. That's all.
What was your first sort of in-game rude awakening along those lines?
Oh, I don't know.
Talk a little bit about Tavon Austin, what stress he puts on a defense, and how tough is he to tackle in the open field?
Well, he's an excellent, like I say, he's probably the most exciting player in that league. He's a guy that gets the ball in his hands, he can score at any time. He's probably gonna catch kickoffs, he's gonna get it, I'd say 10 to 12 times as a wide out. And I think the key, they're gonna complete some passes. I mean, that's gonna happen, but it's important that once they complete them, get them on the ground and tackle well. And you just can't let him have, you can't let 5 and 6 yard games turn into 40 and 50 yard games. You gotta get him on the ground, go back and play, come get your feet in the ground, go play. So, we have to understand where he is at all times and make sure he's accounted for. He's a very good player.
With the offense being run by a freshman, obviously this will be his first battle under fire. But as a coaching staff, and we've heard this from some of the other assistants, you guys have so much more in right now than you had last year at this time, and it seems like your talent level's up. That's got to be a much better feeling than maybe last year when you're going into Ohio State and you're thinking, gosh, do we have the guys to play? Now I think in your mind you do.
Well, I think we have guys. I think we're better at the other positions. Now I know we are. We got more tailbacks, we got more wideouts. I think our offensive line's much improved, and that should help that quarterback position. At times last year, we had 1 tailback, and at times none. I mean, 0 because of whatever. And, Dobson and Tay had to play 78 snaps a game because of anybody else. So at least now we've got some depth. We can run some guys in there. I think that should help us.
Rip said, he felt like he had 90% of the defense in. He said last year at this time, maybe 40%, and that might have been too much for him because they were still having trouble acclimating.
They're so much further ahead. They are.
Yeah.
Going through what somebody asked me what the difference for me was. Well, the difference for me is you've been through it 1 year, but it's even greater for the kids. And now they've heard that not only for 2 springs, but also a full season. And you never know how kids are going to react. You think you have a good handle on your team until some type of adversity hits. And then you can really find out about kids. You can really find out about what they're all about. And after going through 1 season, your second time around, you've got a better idea of what needs fixed, who needs fixed, and what you got to fix. And I think we're a lot further ahead as far as that goes. And you know what your kids can do.